Having incorrect software execution environment can be devastating. I'm talking about crashes, your server getting hacked, API keys stolen, gonzo, and that's just scratching the surface of it. I'm Philip and let's take a deep dive into software execution environments, development versus production. Let's go. Imagine you're a cook and you want to open up a new restaurant. So what do? You get a place, get a kitchen, and prep the list of items you want to put on the menu. You go to the kitchen, prep every single meal at least once, and you try, you can experiment with them. You can let the stove burn, you can even make burnt food. Why? Because you're not gonna serve that food to anyone. This is a testing phase. The development phase. So basically at this point what are you doing is developing new recipes, trying out different spices, burning the food or whatever chefs do. I don't know, I'm not a chef. This is your development environment. But then the big night comes, the opening night. Here basically everything has to be perfect. The food cooked to absolute perfection. Perfect amount of spices, no kitchen falling apart, no stoves burning the entire place down. And that's gonna be okay. Why? Because you prepared everything before. You trained your staff, you prepped the kitchen, and made sure nothing can go wrong. I mean, in certain situations there are basically aspects you can't control, but besides the point. This is your production environment, the big night. The environment, nothing can go wrong. So just like in a restaurant, development environment is where you prepare, develop new meals, develop new features, write buggy, hilarious code. And when you fix all of those bugs, production is where it goes live. And you don't want to screw up live because people are counting on you. So what are some key differences between development and production environment? We actually have a few. Let's start off with first, security. In development, security is absolutely not a concern. You're probably gonna use weak passwords, no encryption, no exploit checks. That's because there's no one except you. You're not gonna protect yourself against you. There are cases, even if you are in development, that you're gonna use some kind of protected resource or something. Some security measures may apply there. But in general purpose, if you're running everything on your local machine, which development environment usually runs at, you're completely fine. While in production, security is critical. Strong passwords, encryption, protection against DDoS and exploits like cross-site scripting, SQL injection, CSRF, XSRF, and basically every other protection is non-negotiable. Second thing, performance. In development you have zero to none performance concern. You're focused on building features, except if there's something taking up too much time in the production, so you may work on that. But that's also like a feature-ish. It's more of a fix, but yeah, go work on that. It's only you on your local machine that's running the thing. There's no one else to complain. Production needs to be fast and optimized. You may implement techniques such as caching, file compression, database optimizations with indexes, compound indexes, optimized queries to ensure your service runs as smoothly as possible. And then we have logging, giant walls of meaningful text that you take for granted and disregard as nothing is happening. If the new logs keep coming up, it means it's okay. Except if it's red, then it's probably. In development, you want to set up logging so you have every log, every debug log, every verbose log accessible. Exceptions may include Spring Framework. Then you want to log selectively. so many logs, compared to the production where you only want to log the most important things, such as application state, certain domain-wise events, and the elephant in the room, exceptions. You want to know as quickly as possible when shit breaks. Exception handling is also different. In development, you see basically everything. Stack traces, detailed error messages, so you can debug them. Fairly simple stuff. In production, you want to be as vague and as general as possible. Why? Because each message conveys valuable information. Maybe that info wouldn't be interesting to average Joe, but give that info to a skilled attacker and he will cause chaos. Think about what information your server gives out. Everything can and probably at some point will be used against them. So basically the point with errors is to be as vague and as general as possible, because not everyone on the other side of the screen is as friendly as you are, and by giving them limited information they will not know how to focus there, what attacks to use, they won't know where to focus the attack. For example, if with a certain request I receive a stack trace, I can with fair accuracy assume which technologies and which versions are you running on your server. And I can use that information to focus my exploits on those versions of those technologies. And that's how you get your server breached. Always update your things. Final key difference: databases and data. While you develop certain functionalities, you may not require real data. For example, first names, last names, addresses, postal codes, social security numbers, I guess, I don't know. You can have a completely fictional data and it will work fine. If you're working on a performance, you can create fictional database indexes. You can experiment with the database. You can delete the entire database and no one will question it. Why? Because development databases usually run probably on your own PC or in some kind of development server, which is intended for development, for experimentation, or destroying itself. While in production, database is the most crucial bit of the entire story. It's where the real data is, and you wanna protect that data with all your might. That's why databases in production have sharding, clustering, backups of backups. Yeah, databases in production are to be feared with, and that has to be up like 100% of the time. Data absolutely not touched. Looking at you, GitLab. Alright, so let's talk about the most common mistakes developers tend to do when dealing with environments. The most common one being hard coding, API keys, and secrets. Guys, I've seen so many hard... I am even guilty of this myself. Like, back in the day, I would write Node.js backends that were like 2000 lines long, nested into oblivion, and with API keys and secrets like mailing secrets, like payment gateway secrets being hard-coded. Oh, my eyes. Luckily, it was a private GitHub repository, so no one saw it. Don't hard-code secrets and keys. Use something like environment variables or .env files or program arguments or something. Read the parameters externally. It's not safe. It's probably the worst practice there is. Except if you are quickly testing some things, then it is teeny tiny bit acceptable, just by a teeny tiny bit. The other mistake I saw is not testing in a production-like environment. Imagine just rolling out a new feature or your new whole thing, the next big thing, the unicorn. It's hyped up, the website goes online, and basically after a few seconds, how fast it went online, it went down. Why? Because probably it crashed under the load of 10 people. Test the limits of your server before it goes up. Test your database queries. Use automatic scaling. There are tools like Amazon EKS or Kubernetes to basically automatically or horizontally scale your systems. There are tools to test what load can your system bear. One of the tools is Apache AB. You can use it to test your entire thing. Or if you want to go to the extremes, there are services like DDoS for hire. Set up automatic horizontal or vertical, depending on your infrastructure, scaling. But just test in production-like environments. Don't make this mistake. Mistake numero 3. Don't test and don't use debugging tools in production. When making a production build, scrap all the unnecessary debug logs. Make sure that it is the most compressed, the most optimized, the most obfuscated version you can have. Strip all of the development tools you can have. That way, not only do you save on performance, but also it really enhances your security. Mistake number 4. Deploying unoptimized code, or basically leaving anything that's not production worthy in it. Point being, if you did some kind of test, it's fine if you were testing something in development, but if the test code goes into production, it can have numerous side effects. It can lead to crashes, it can lead to major outages, it can lead to basically another CrowdStrike. Yep. Some intern pushed something on Friday and it brought the whole world down. God damn. Code review, peer review, review. And finally, not setting up proper monitoring and logging. Yes, in development you have debug logs, you have verbose logs, you have all these stack traces that give you info. How about in production, if you need to see internally what's happening? You need to see those stack traces, and you need to see them quick. Basically analyze them. What's happening? What's crashing? What's not working? You just want to know what's happening in the real time. That's where tools like Sentry or Datadog come in clutch. Learn about them, use them. Now that we've covered some of the most common mistakes, let's jump into best practices. How to manage your environments like a pro. First up, version control. You're probably using Git, but how you structure your branches can actually make a very big difference. The key is to separate branches for your development and for your production. The most common way is to have your main branch or master, super renaming, as your production branch. The second branch you want to have is your development branch called develop, which is unofficial good naming convention. Basically on a develop, you develop, and when you test things out, ready to roll out a live version of your software, just merge it into the main branch so that you have a clear separation of which environments you should use where. Basically, using this approach ensures that you don't accidentally push unstable or not tested yet code into the production branch. Second thing, use different configuration files for different environments. When developing and actually running your code in the production, can have two separate configuration files. These differ, for example, by having a database connection, one to your local database and second one in the actual production database. Or for example, having the keys to your payment gateway. In the development, you will have some kind of test keys, and in production, the thing is live and people will actually be charged. Also, when using Git, make sure to add those configuration files to the git ignore, so you don't actually push some API keys or sensitive secrets or database connections to your Git repo. This is mainly to prevent hard coding the keys or secrets in your actual code. Let's talk about automated testing. When it comes to every feature, you don't want to manually test it every time someone does anything, pushes anything, creates a merge request, so you have to give him a call like, hey, did your checks pass? No, fix them. You want to have something called CI/CD. Basically, there are many CI/CD tools that you can use: GitLab CI, Travis CI, Circle CI. There's literal sea of CIs. CIs. CI tools basically help you to automate things with scripts. For example, when a push is made, when a merge request is created, when a merge request is closed, or something like that. What you want to have is a pipeline that on every push tests the code. And when all tests pass, then and only then it will be available for it to merge into main or production. Now for the next step, Docker to the rescue. One of the biggest challenges is making sure that your development environment as closely resembles your production environment. Introducing Docker. Tools like Docker and Docker Compose allows you to easily define your development and production environment. It basically defines your whole tech stack. You can also use Docker to containerize your application and put it in an environment that's production-like and test it there. This basically minimizes the "oh, it works on my machine" moments. That is essentially it. Those are like the most basic differences of running your software in a different. Of course, you can have more of them, like staging environment or testing environment, or basically whichever environment you need to test your software and make it good. If you have any more questions, make sure to let me know and I'll probably address them. So yeah, that's it. See ya.